Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. If you've been attending all of these sessions so far, this is our third MFA faculty panel. With us today, I have graduate program directors from Jewelry and Metalsmithing, Printmaking and Industrial Design. I will turn it over to them to introduce themselves. Seth, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Seth Papik. I'm the GPD for Jewelry and Metalsmithing. Like I said, I'm from Seattle. I've been in Providence for 6 years. I'm looking forward to answering your questions today.
All right. Tiana.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tiana Bowie, GPD in printmaking. Starting actually my third year at RISD. I'm from Chicago originally, so I'm the Midwest person. Great to have you all today. Thank you.
And hello, everyone. I'm Paolo Cardini. I'm the graduate program director in the MID program, Master in Industrial Design. I'm Italian. I'm here at RISD since 11 years, I think. Still in cultural shock in the US. Before that, I was in the Middle East. I was living in the Middle East, in Qatar, Doha for 3 years. And before that, I was in Spain and in Scotland and in Italy also. So happy to have this chat.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So the nature of today's session is an open Q&A. The faculty here today will be answering your questions specifically about the portfolio requirement for the application, but you're welcome to ask any questions in general about RISD itself, the culture, studio life. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. We should be able to answer them all within the hour, but just in case we don't answer all of them, you can email us at admissions@risd.edu. But with that said, I've got a couple of icebreaker questions queued up while people think of questions to ask. And for those questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section of Zoom. Now for the panel, what are generally some common pitfalls or mistakes you see people make in the portfolio? Anybody want to take that one first?
I'll go first. I think it's important to understand that when we're reviewing applications, sometimes we have a lot, depending on what department. And typically we're viewing them on our computer, on our laptop, and you can't necessarily make the images bigger. So when people are putting 40 images in one slide, you literally can't see what's in them. So our requirement for J&M, for example, is like don't put more than 3 images in one slide, which allows us to actually see what the work is. That might be different depending on what the department is, but it is hard to actually see the work in the program that we're looking at. So, and you can't really zoom in, or so it's good to know that don't jam each slide with too many images so that it's too small to actually see.
Perfect. Thank you, Seth. And that's exactly what we tell people in admissions as well. We do a portfolio prep session where we actually show people screenshots of what slide room looks like and what it looks like from your perspective as a faculty member reviewing when people put too many images on one slide. So we can't stress it enough for people to get in, start an application and get into slide room now, to just play around with it and get familiarize yourself with that platform. All right, Tiana, Paolo, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if the maximum is what, 20 images and up to 20 images, I always say you don't have to put all 20 images. If you have images that are 10 that are really, really strong, that's fine. And then when I tell people that, they breathe a little sigh of relief because they think they have to fill space. And I'm like, you want a really strong portfolio that's more about the main pieces that you have that tell a story. And if something doesn't fit in that conversation, it's okay to leave it out as long as you get the minimum.
I can add something that, again, more or less specific to our programs, but a suggestion that I give to you is don't base your portfolio on what you think we may want to see. So that's important. That's usually a giant mistake, in a sense that trying to fit in as much as possible in your idea of the program you're applying to. In our case, happens very often that people without a traditional product design background, they try to pretend to be product designers. They do projects to put in their portfolio that resemble their idea of what a product designer is. But in reality, we are very interested in everything post-disciplinary. So really present who you are in the most honest way, and that will get to us, and way more than trying to fit whatever vision you have, or whatever idea you have, or what we want. So if you feel that your work is not exactly fitting in our department, that's usually a misunderstanding. Everything can fit if is well presented and clear. Even a scientific paper can fit in it, and from art to engineering and everything in between. So don't try to fit a category, because there are no categories.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paolo. This next question kind of builds on what you were just talking about. This person's asking specifically in regards to textiles, but I think it can be more broadly answered in regards to if somebody has, let's say, a graphic design background, but is applying for textiles. Would you recommend them adding graphic design work into their textiles application? And you mentioned this, Paolo, the interdisciplinary nature of the work that's being done here. Would you encourage people to include different types of mediums in their portfolio?
Well, I follow up because I very close to what I just said. I think if your strong work is within the textile, and actually I see a lot of similarities between the textile and graphic design anyway. So in spite of making up graphic design work just to show that you can do it, but you are not able to develop it at the level of the work that you have developed within textile, I shouldn't be too worried. I mean, your sense of compositions, your visual aesthetics, those things will probably pass through your textile work anyway. So in spite of adding extra work that is lower quality because you have never engaged directly with specific graphic design outcomes, I should just stick to the textiles one.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paolo. Anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I would say there is a question in the chat that's related to J&M, same question basically. I would say that when I'm looking at a portfolio, whether or not you have a background in the discipline you're applying to, I want to see how you think about things and how those thoughts and intentions are like manifested in the way you make things. So if that's like clear in your portfolio, then that's good enough for me. I mean, I think in your essay, it's important if you're applying to a field that maybe you don't have a background in. I think it's important to address why you're interested in like sort of a shifting over to something different, so that the person looking at your application understands like the motivation for that shift, and also like how your work relates to your interests in moving into a different field. Or so in your portfolio, I want to see how you make things, why you make them that way, what you're thinking about. And I think in the text, you can really explain why you're interested in sort of making and thinking through a different lens in a graduate program.
Great, thank you. Awesome, perfect. And I just want to add to that, the statement of purpose should definitely not be an afterthought. I know everyone talks about the portfolio being the most important element of the application. And while it does have its place, so do the other elements as well. So if there's any gaps in your portfolio, you can make them up in clarifying them in your statement of purpose. Also, all the elements of the application, letters of recommendation, making sure you're asking faculty or recommenders for strong letters. The application is reviewed holistically, so all those elements are taken into consideration during the application process.
I also wanted to add, I think you should always just be clear about who you're applying to, which department. It's okay to have multiple things, but I think just making sure you're clear about this is where I want to be. And you don't want the panel to have to guess which department you want to be in. So I would just think about that.
And another quick comment about statement letters. Please don't start your letter since I was a child. I've always been a creative. That's the stating the obvious. I mean, you're applying for an art school, and so just skip that part, please.
Thanks, Paolo. Yes, Tiana?
I was gonna say, I'm such a personal narrative person, so I'm like, for me, that would not bother me. So I think it just depends on the department. But also, if you can contextualize why, I understand, Paulo, 100%. Like, if you're just talking about your personal narrative, but you're not talking about the why you're interested in the program and having a deep contextual conversation, that's an issue. But I'm like, you can throw in a little bit personal if you want, for me.
No, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Since I was a child, I had an obsession about birds. That's fine. Since I was a child, I've always been creative. That's a no to me.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Paolo, I have an industrial design specific question for you. How would you recommend formatting the prototype versus a render? And do they count as separate works?
This can be pretty atypical for applying to an industrial design program. We don't care much about digital renders. Especially now, yes, so easy to produce digital images that really there is no value in those. So what we want is tangible representations of your creativity or the way you're thinking. So everything that is the presentation of a concept has way less value than whatever you will try to do physically in a tangible form. And when I say tangible, it can be very broad. Can be digital, can be physical, but tangible means you're not just presenting an idea, you're engaging with it. So that's extremely important. And digital renders sometimes are just a shortcut to present a project, but without really engaging with it. So I could say way more important to show the prototyping process and your hands-on activities rather than a digital render.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paolo. We get this question more often than you would think. People put a lot of thought and stress in the description section of SlideRoom. What is the best way, in your opinion, for people to utilize that section? Should there be a description for every piece, for every image or slide in SlideRoom? And if so, what is the best? Is less more? And the best approach for that. We've had people ask if they can put a link to their work in there. Is that something that you utilize as a reviewer? Any thoughts when you're in that review process in SlideRoom? What's best approach for that?
I can jump in there. I have I haven't seen them necessarily in every single slide because do believe some work that you make needs a conversation on the side. Like if it's hard to really visually see all the things you put into it, I think it's great to add that on the side. And this is made in this. There's things we just can't see through a photo, and having that explanation is really good for us if we're like, wait, what's happening? What's this? Or we're like curious, like, how do they do this? I've never seen this before. So it's really good to have that. Think about the fact that, oh, you're in your studio by yourself and you're not doing it in front of everybody. So you have to think, how would a person walk into my space, what questions would they have about this work? So I think about that. And not necessarily for every single one, but for certain ones, that's totally fine. Unless every single one is complicated like that.
Seth, Paolo, any thoughts
Yeah,
on
I
that?
can see. I mean, I think it's very important to avoid redundancies. I mean, if you feel the need to add informations, that's absolutely fine. Um, for design portfolios, usually a lot of informations are within the image itself. So there is overimposed text, there are explanations. So it's usually not just one single image and that's it, but it's already text that is happening within the image. So in that case, you don't repeat information on the side because that is redundant. Yes, add links to your work. A lot of time in the images is mentioned the video or something that is interactive, let's say just put a link to a video that is actually showing all of it. So don't limit it to just a single image. So again, it's just a matter really try to understand from our side if you understand what is important to be said about a project, and that's a value.
Perfect. Thank you, Paolo.
Yeah, I would just add, it's always good to be concise. So that's what I would say.
Perfect. All right. Awesome. Tiana, this question is specific for you. For printmaking, is it okay to apply digital work that uses printmaking principles?
Absolutely, actually. I said the same thing like printmaking, graphic design, illustration. We're all cousins and best friends. And we all utilizing images for the most part. And it's like you said, the philosophy of printmaking is there, and that is absolutely fine. But great question.
Perfect. All right. All right. This is uh, a broad question. This person has a bachelor in art with a full background in product development and design. And regarding the portfolio arrangement, they have a well-arranged slides of works in a PDF format. But Slide Room makes it a little confused, makes them a little bit confused of how to properly present their works, which are mostly physical works produced. So they have pictures of the works and some few sketches of design process. Any help for this person to understand how exactly they can go about submitting what they have in Slide Room?
I should say if the portfolio is already set with all the rationale and everything that you think is important, you can just split the PDF in different images and upload each single page of your portfolio individually. If that's a narrative that you've worked on already, that is already solid, I don't recommend you to shuffle again all your content. So just use that and just use different images from that.
Perfect. And I will note that in Slide Room, the minimum is 10 slides. So a lot of people are coming with these curated bundled PDFs, these multi-page PDFs, and I think they can just upload that, meet the requirement and hit submit. Slide Room will require you to do at least 10 slides. So it is in your best interest to break up that PDF. Also for the portfolio, we'll see people that have like a cover page, table of contents, sometimes a resume page in their portfolio. We don't want to see those things. We just want to see the actual work in the portfolio. Things like the resume, CV, or additional like written pieces can be included in the application itself. So just keep the actual portfolio to the work, just the work. All right. See here. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Next question. Since sculpture encompasses pretty much every other type of art, what do you look for when someone applies? Oh, this is specific for sculpture. And I can direct this person somewhere else to Taylor. But what do you look for when someone applies for the sculpture program specifically? If you reach out to admissions, I can give you some more context on that. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Paolo, another question for you. For industrial design, how many projects is it? And generally, if you could all answer this question, because we get this a lot. How many projects is it ideal to show? They know Slide Room says 10 to 20, but is it better to show less work with more progress images and drawings for each work?
Um, uh, I think both Tiana and Seth already answered that in a sense that it's not about the number, it's about the quality that you are presenting. I should say, uh, and I said it as well, don't be redundant. So if, especially in design, that people tend to present projects in a sequence of actions, research, concept creation, prototyping, all of that. If you repeat that same story over and over for each project, is very boring. And you are redundant in a sense that you're repeating the same information. I think the value in applying to grad school is really communicating that you understand what is the value of each project and what is the key point in each one of them. So every project is different and everyone has its own unicity. So show us what is the unicity of that project. You conducted the research in a very specific way. You used a very specific material in another one. So don't follow a format for each project that you present, but try to highlight what the part about each project that you think is really innovative, important, relevant, and that will reduce the quantity eventually.
Yeah, I would say for J&M, again, going back to like what we can view and how we view your application. Oftentimes when people include process, it's the same situation where it's you basically can't see what's happening because there's so much information. And I would say typically I only want to see process for like maybe one piece or one series. I don't want to see process for everything in the portfolio. Because I'm more interested in like how you embody things intentionally. So I want to see like physical things. It's always good to have like some insight into process, but you know, I think if you just outline that in one piece or one series, that's enough for me. But again, like paying attention to not overcrowding your slides so that you can actually, the viewer can actually understand what the process is.
Thank you. All right. This is a general question, but is it better to show a wide range of skills? Should people be showing you their toolkits with everything that they're capable of doing, or should they just focus specifically on the work that excites them and the work that they want to continue pursuing here at RISD?
I think I touched on this earlier too. I know for us, absolutely show what you're excited about and things that are tailored to the program.
Okay.
Because it is very easy to get super excited, like I want to show everything, but I would say this is where you have to be a curator and just focus and narrow down and be very clear about why this program and what do you need from this program.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think we want people not for the tools they are able to handle, but for the way they think. So, a a tool is very easy to teach. The way you all think and is really what you are looking at, that potential of critical inquiry or going beyond what is in front of us. That's really what we look at.
Ditto, double ditto.
Perfect. All right. Also, another common question, does it matter what the order is of the portfolio? Do you like to see work that's in chronological order? And generally, this person's asking, does the work in the portfolio, is it viewed in the order that it's placed in? Is that how you're viewing it?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that is how we're viewing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my response to this question is I want to see a body of work. I don't want to see assignments. And so I'm saying that because you might arrange it in a way that isn't chronological because there's a narrative or it makes sense between two things, and maybe that's not in chronological order. I care more about like seeing a body of work or seeing like fully developed work that isn't obviously like generated from assignments or outside prompts. I want to see like how you as an artist are like building work and how your work is developing and progressing. So if that's not in chronological order for you, that's how you should do it. But we do view it like the way that it's uploaded. So
Perfect.
Yeah, I could also add, this is within each single project, but also in general for your submission. Shoot the best first. Just give us the best immediately. Don't create, I mean, at least for us, don't create a climax or don't increase the expectation about something beautiful that has to come. Just show immediately. And as mentioned before, we are reviewing a lot of applications, a lot. And I think the first few slides are really critical to understand. So don't expect that our interest in your portfolio is growing because you are making us curious about what's next. I mean, in general, really a super strong project, and within that project, a super strong image placed at the beginning is actually the thing that increase our curiosity and to want to know more.
I'm just going to add that, see, and this could be, there's a strategy you could use, and I agree with Pilo about, but for me, I'm like, sometimes you have works that are like you have three really just amazing ones out the gate, and then the others not, they're just like in the middle. They're like they're good, but you really want to share them for various reasons. So sometimes I'm like, well, what if you do bookend series? The first one is really well, and then the last one is also good. I think for me, when I see two images that are really good, and then I keep going, I'm like, oh, like I think of I don't want to let that go. So I do think about you could play around with how you place them in the beginning. I think in the end, keep the interest throughout the entire experience for the viewers.
Great.
I agree with that totally. Yeah.
Perfect. This is a question about recommendations. And again, we get this a lot. Do recommendations need to come mainly from art professors, or is it okay to include one from a past employer in a creative field? This person previously worked in publishing.
I would say that your letters of recommendation should come from people who can speak to your potential as a graduate student, and whether that means they were an art professor or they're a professional contact, it doesn't matter. It's the people who can speak the strongest to your potential are the people who should be writing your letters.
Agreed. And here's a little tip. You should, if you haven't, if sometimes you do stuff, you don't share things with the people who are going to write your letter, share everything with them. Like sometimes you just don't think about it. And they're not going to read your mind and like, why do you want to go there? Oh, I'll just make up something. No, no, no. Have a conversation, meet with them and express why so they can get excited about why, and then they can write you an amazing letter.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Paolo, this question is specifically for you. This person's coming from a mechanical engineering background. They often rely on technical drawings, CAD models, and section views to communicate design ideas. For an industrial design portfolio, is it appropriate to include those, or should they adapt them to be more design oriented? And if so, how?
Yeah, going back to what I said before, don't try to present yourself as something different than what you are, or from your background and what you have created so far. So that's absolutely fine. I mean, and when we are selecting students, we are looking at creating a strong cohort. And that cohort is made of different individuals with different mindsets, with different backgrounds and different toolkit. So it's important for us to understand what you're bringing on the table, and that if that is who you are and the way you're expressing your creativity, just show that. Don't be worried that the technical drawing is not artistic enough. That's not a problem with us.
Fantastic. Great. Yeah, you definitely touched upon a question that we get a lot from people who are coming from fields outside of their art and design, that may not have that fully developed portfolio that some other candidates have. So that's definitely some reassuring for those people. And admissions, we just tell them that, all applications are welcome. Everyone adds, something different to the cohort, so everyone has a different perspective. So that's great. Okay. Perfect. Let's see here. Keep the questions coming. We still have plenty of time. Paolo, you are the man of the hour right now. This person also interested in industrial design. How does it compare to similar programs at other schools? And also and what it looks like for an ideal candidate and portfolio. You've kind of touched upon this already. And I also just want to do a plug. For some of these program-specific questions, we will be doing an online open house. Everybody here will have a 1-hour dedicated session to talk about the curriculum and their programs. So feel free to sign up for those. Those events are online. I can drop the link in the chat. But Paolo, if you wanted to touch upon that.
I can say, yeah, and without getting into too much on the specific of things, I think that specifically for design or people that are coming from a more technical background, you're applying for a master in industrial design within an art school. So you have to remember that. And I have personal experience. I studied in a polytechnic and I have a master of science, but then I studied also in a school of art. There are different ways to perceive and approach design in itself. So remember that. If you are applying to a master in industrial design at RISD, most likely will be slightly different and unconventional compared to Georgia Tech or CMU. So and that is a mistake not to be done. Because the expectations can be very different. So the focus on experimental and critical thinking, the conceptual side of design is something that you will engage with more than high-end industrial design manufacturing things. So that's the reality.
This is a great question that came in, but I think it can be answered more broadly. How would you recommend students show risk-taking and experimentation in a portfolio? Is that something you like to see in a portfolio?
I'd say so. Again, I think it's all in context. Like if there's maybe a work in progress, I've seen that, and it was based on works from the portfolio, but they were like, this one is in progress, and that's fine. I was like, I like thinking about how you're thinking and how you're moving your progress or your practice along. So it's just again, frame it in a way that makes sense for the portfolio versus it just being a random thing thrown in there to fill space.
Yeah, correct. I can second that and saying that work in progress and for us and has a great value. Again, in a collection of images or projects that you're presenting, there is maybe some projects where you are bringing really the definition and refinement to the extreme, and there is another one that is more rough, is unfinished partially, or simply is focusing on other things rather than a polished finished. And that those for us has the same value. So as long as we can see that range in your portfolio, but don't underestimate the power of something that is in progress, I think.
Awesome. Fantastic. This is a great question. And this one's broad. When reviewing hundreds of portfolios, what helps an applicant stand out in the first few minutes?
Good work and good images.
Definitely.
Very much so.
Yeah. I do want to emphasize that the images are important, right? Like they need to be in focus. We need to be able to see what's there. Like for J&M, it's very important that a body is involved in the images so that we understand scale and function. If we don't have that, it's sometimes very hard to understand scale and function. So it's important that a body is involved in the images. And I would say that if you have um, the resources in terms of like time and money to get professional photos done, you should do that. That's an investment that I would encourage because it makes a huge difference in terms of like how your work is presented.
Great. Thank you, Seth.
I should say, I mean, again, we review a lot of portfolios, and some of us since so many years that I think we grew a certain experience in detecting the fakes and the reals, and so be real is my extreme recommendation, in a sense that you can think about how to pack everything that you have in front of you in the best possible way, or eventually in the way you think we may like it. But in reality, I think every single opportunity that you have in your portfolio to show that you are committed, you are engaging with things, you are not taking shortcuts, and you are really passionate about what you're doing, those are all extremely valuable elements. And they are not present in all the portfolios, honestly.
Fantastic. All right. For the portfolio, would it be more beneficial to include a series of pieces, similar overall, but a little different, or focus on a variety of pieces instead?
I've seen both. I've seen, as long as there's like this really interesting through line through all the work. But I've seen where some of the work was a series, maybe 3 to 4 pieces. And that made sense for that piece, that section. And then the other one were individuals, but they spoke to the other work, if that makes sense. So it's not always every piece needs to be exactly in the same, you know, color blue or a visual conversation. It could be that the content is the same, but the outcome is a bit different, and that's fine for our department. So
Yeah, for us, I mean, I don't hide that I think that I've seen multiple times that what got a student in was one project
Wow.
in a whole portfolio. So there are some very powerful projects or pieces that are really the ones that get you in. Maybe not the full portfolio, but that thing is the one that is really able to show your potential. So that can vary from portfolio and portfolio, and from piece to piece. So depends really on what that is about. But definitely a strong piece, a strong artistic direction, even if it's one and is super strong, I shouldn't, I should say, can provide the same chances.
Thank you, Paula. All right, let's see here. What's the best way for someone to show scale when it comes to professionally photographing art?
ooh, that's a good one. I think because I'm in the more 2D field, even though I have applicants that apply and they do installation and they might do some 3D work. I think that people think if it's 2D, they don't have to show scale. If the work is large scale. And I'm like, and so if it's a large scale, it fits the wall or it's installation. That is where I absolutely, going back to Seth, put a body in it. Show someone looking at it. If you have it, if it's in a museum or if it's in a space that you have, get it out of the studio and put it up somewhere that so we can see what is the scale? And if scale is important, and a lot of times it is, and you might emphasize it in the writing, but we're not seeing it in the photo. And so also getting different perspectives on a piece. If you have a three-dimensional piece, it's okay to show from different angles. And that's one that I'm okay if that's on one slide because you're hitting different angles for the one piece, not multiple separate images on one slide. But think about, how do I really want to show this piece? And then sometimes people have done little videos. That's also okay. So that's just for my side, yeah.
And then we were just given some further clarification on this question. This person meant a literal body.
Yes. Like show someone's body next to your work.
Okay,
I like that.
perfect. They understood. Excellent. And I'll also say that in Slideroom itself, there is fields where you can put like dimensions and what the piece is made out of. So there are options to further explain that as well. This is a good question. Paolo, you had mentioned this already a little bit, but when, let's see here, this person's wondering if it's okay to use video. Can using video be an effective way of making a strong impression, or is it best to prioritize one impactful static image?
Uh, it's really about how you use it. And again, how you optimize your communication towards us. So if a video is not adding anything to a static image, that usually is not the case. But again, you cannot share a full movie, a film like a 12 minutes film probably is too much for us, that we are not in a FAV. But for instance, a lot of time students are adding interactive devices, physical computing, electronics, and they show a picture about an electric circuit that is supposed to detect some sensorial inputs, and and or an image of the code that has been written. Does they have no value? I mean, show me that that things that you create is actually working, is actually doing something, and you're not just putting together a few electronics and take a picture of it. So again, be real in the sense that be also credible. So everything that you present should have the level of credibility that we want. And for something, a video is necessary to really prove that you have actually engaged at the specific level.
Fantastic. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Paolo, another question for you. Since industrial design is so process-based, what balance would you recommend for the process versus final image? You mentioned there is usually text on the slides. How are projects commonly laid out?
As I said before, is a good balance. I mean, some projects, maybe you end up with a fantastic outcome and maybe is lower in conceptual thinking. That project, probably you're going to show us what you think is the best part of that project. On other sides, you may present, you may focus on the process itself and a little bit less on the final outcome. So it's really providing us with multiple opportunities to assess the different stages of your thinking. It's process-based, but also what you're able to produce at the end is pretty important anyway. Yeah, don't trust too much the explanation of the process. And again, I remember we are in an art school, and you are not really selling the full value of it, just showing us the process. So show us what the process brings you. And sometimes we don't also care about the process. So really depends. Up to you to decide for which project, what is the important part to highlight.
Great, thank you. This is a broad question, but how do you see the portfolio as a reflection of an applicant's potential as a graduate student or artist?
That's good. Because it's grad school, so not everybody's coming from the same backgrounds, right? Not everybody, and I know for printmaking, not everybody's coming from a very over the top printmaking background specifically. So I've had people apply that came from a graphic design and And for us, what we saw that I was like, this, what the great potential for us was the way they worked with the images, right? The process wasn't necessarily printmaking, but the language that the images spoke made so much sense I see why they want to be at this program. I see what they can get from it based on the way they think about their images. So that's from our perspective, right? So, but I think that's usually how all of our programs pretty much work.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I can add, I mean, definitely, again, as I said, the depth and quality of your thinking is extremely important. So presenting maturity to approach education at a higher level from your undergrads education. So are you able actually to expand, build on what you already have? That's extremely important. Are you willing to challenge yourself? That's another important things that we are looking at. If you're coming to our department thinking that you are reiterating what you have done in the undergrads and you may were very good at, if you're not able to bring yourself in non-comfort zones and being willing to learn more and even question yourself, the discipline, the educational path you had so far, all those things are highlighting your maturity for a grad program that we look careful at.
Thank you. This is a broad question, but take it how you want. How is the environment at RISD?
Well, I'm like, which one? I mean, social,
Yeah, yeah,
academic, all of
yeah.
it. I mean, I don't want to speak for, you don't want to speak for grads, right? So that's why I come to the virtual open house. We'll have grads there to speak for themselves.
Mhm.
But from when I just ask, just out of well, first of all, Providence is gorgeous. So I think that the physical space adds a lot to people's energy in a way that I think you have to think about physical space and where you are. But also, the environment is very there's like in grad school, there is this collaborative nature that everybody wants to work together and do things together and spend time together and think about their projects together. So there's this energy that everybody wants the same things, which is pretty awesome to be in a space where everyone's working together for the greater goal. And that's usually a lot of the draw for people in grad school that come to grad school. They want this community. And there's a great sense of that at RISD from what I'm asking my grads just to check in. And they're like, no, the problem is there's too much that they have a hard time knowing when to kind of like take it back a notch. I'm like, okay, it's 2 years. I don't think you can do all of that in 2 years. Like, so trying to figure out what are things that are really important to them so they can, get what they need before they leave, but also there's so many ways they want to work with people. And then there's Brown, right? So you have that connection. So if anything, it's could be a little overload in the best way possible. And so we help steer them into a place where they don't have to feel like they have to do it all.
Excellent. Thank you, Tiana. And it segues into another event that we're happening on Monday night. It's Monday, October 20th. We're doing a student panel. So if you want to get a little bit more of the students' perspective, that's a great session. We'll have a representative from just about each of the divisions here at RISD there to help answer. And I just
I-
dropped a link for sorry,
Oh,
Tiana.
sorry, finish, please. Please.
Oh, and I just dropped a link to the online publication of the RISD thesis show. This is a great opportunity to see the type of work that current students are making, the interdisciplinary nature that's happening here. I would recommend checking that out as well. But Paolo, go ahead.
Yeah, I was adding something to the previous question that also is connected to what we are looking at into a grad student. It's RISD can be and mean many things in many different ways to very different people. So it's really depending which kind of um, thing you want to experience or become, and that's up to all of our grad students. So in general, our programs are very self-directed. So we need that maturity also you really have to set the agenda and you really have to find your way in the many things that RISD has to offer. But the quantity of electives that our grad students can take really we are aiming to create unique, creative individuals. And that's not something that we can do by ourselves. Is really needed that our students are taking in their hands their creative direction and deciding which kind of opportunities to take on and expose themselves to. So that's the important part. So RISD can be many, many things. It's up to each students to decide what it is.
Excellent. Thank you, Paolo. This question is unrelated to the portfolio, but how does transportation, physical distance work for artists between class and studios and housing, student or regular? If the studios are 24/7, is it safe to walk around at like 3 a.m., for example?
Yeah, you want to go, Seth? Or okay. Well, Providence is small, so there's that. So I walk everywhere. I have a car, but I literally walk past my car to go to work because it's a beautiful walkable city. It's one of the best actually for walkable. And also, if you for some reason don't feel safe, because I don't want to speak on someone's safety measures, we do have RISD rides, and the grads they become friends with certain drivers, which is hilarious. I'm like, wait, the driver took you where? They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So they all figured out a system, a great because RISD has that system, but they tapped into it. And usually people think about, oh, the cars for the undergrads. No, the grads utilize it in so many ways. So you can get to where you need to get to if you don't, for some reason, feel comfortable. But I will say I walk around at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm a night owl. I can do work late and then I'll go here and go there. And so I would say overall, yes, it's pretty safe. But again, your personal measures is up to you. Yeah.
Also, Brown is 10, 15 minutes walk if you're
Yeah.
taking classes up at Brown. So it's all very close.
Yeah.
Perfect, yeah. But I will also just stress that RISD is spread out within the downtown area. There isn't a dedicated campus or quad, for example. So just use general common sense walking around at night. Don't wear headphones. Be socially aware. It is in an urban city. But generally speaking, it is very safe. And as Tiana mentioned, that we do have RISD rides, which is a great resource for current students.
But don't worry, you will be trapped in your studios, so you will have no chance to do it. No, but well, it's actually the opposite. I think we hope that having you here, you engage the community, you go around and you know this place way more than just limit your experience to RISD. I mean, RISD can offer a lot of stimuli, but in reality, where your creativity should come from is really out there. So that's also important.
Perfect. Thank you, Paolo. All right. I think that is we're just about running out of time here. I just want to, I think that's a great note to end on. If we missed your question or if you think of something afterwards, feel free to email us at admissions@risd.edu. I don't want to speak for everybody, Seth, Tiana, Paolo, but if a specific question comes in for your program, it's okay to forward it along to you guys. Perfect. And so with that, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us today from wherever you are. And again, this is just the beginning. We have two more months. 2 more months till the deadline. Yeah. I think it's about 12 weeks to the deadline now. So keep working on your portfolios, keep asking the questions. We'll be here to help you along the way. And yeah, we look forward to seeing your application. Yeah, this session is recorded, so email us at admissions@risd.edu and I can share that with you. But with that, I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Seth, Tiana, Paolo, for being with us today. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.